Hi, today I would like to read to you a story that comes from the Bible, 1 Samuel chapter 16, and it's about David, the shepherd boy. It's written by Etta B. Degering. David, the youngest boy. 8 brothers standing in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The youngest boy at the end of the row is David. David and his brothers lived on a farm near a small town. David was a shepherd boy. He took care of his father's sheep. To David's town came Samuel the prophet. The prophet invited all the people to a special feast. David's brothers were going to the feast. David's father was going to the feast. But the brothers said to David, "You are too young to go. You stay home and take care of the sheep." How do you suppose David felt about that? David took his harp under his arm. He tucked his sling in his belt. He opened the gate to the sheep pen. "Come, sheep, come, lambs," he called. Black lamb and curly lamb over here walked one on each side of David. David led the sheep to a green, grassy place. While the older sheep nibbled grass, Black lamb and curly lamb played jumping games and bunting games with the other lambs. David played tunes on his harp, and he kept close watch of the sheep. Black lamb began to wander away up over a hill. David put down his harp and ran after him. He brought Black lamb back to the flock. Then David saw a weed that would make the sheep sick if they ate it. He pulled up the weed and threw it away. A jackal sneaked around a rock toward the sheep. You see that right here? A jackal is a kind of a wild dog. David stomped his foot and the jackal ran. David took his sling from his belt. It was a long, long sling made from strong brown leather that his father had made for him. He put a smooth stone into the sling. Now, what should he hit? That red rock over there? Well, he would try. So around and around and around he swung the sling. Zing! Went the stone. Ping! It hit the red rock. He's a good marksman, isn't he? David put another stone in the sling. He would aim for that round black hole in the tree. So around and around and around he swung the sling. Zing! Went the stone straight into the round black hole in the tree. Wow. Then David heard a noise. It wasn't a hopping, thumping noise like a rabbit running through the grass. No, it wasn't a rabbit. It wasn't a pecking noise like a bird pecking on a tree. No, it wasn't a bird. It was a snuffing, gruffing noise like a big animal prowling around. It was a bear, a fierce brown bear, and he was sneaking closer and closer and closer to where Black lamb and curly lamb were playing. The bear crept up behind a bush, ready to snatch curly lamb as she ran by. Quickly, David put a stone in the sling. He ran straight toward the bear. Around and around and around he swung the sling. Zing! Went the stone, and it hit the fierce brown bear, and the bear fell dead. Whew! Good job, David. David picked up frightened little Curly Lamb, and he carried her in his arms. Black Lamb kept close by his side. "Come, sheep, come, lambs," called David, and he led them to a place where they would be safe. While the older sheep nibbled the new green grass, Black Lamb and Curly Lamb again played jumping games with the other lambs, and David played tunes on his harp. Now, while David was watching the sheep, Samuel the prophet made ready the feast. David's father was at the feast. David's brothers were at the feast. Before they sat down to eat, the prophet said to David's father, "Have your boys walk before me one by one. Today, God will choose one of them for something very special." I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's David on the hillside with his flock of sheep. David's oldest brother walked before the prophet. "No, it is not this boy," said the prophet. The next oldest brother walked before the prophet. "No, it is not this boy." And then the next oldest brother walked before the prophet. And the prophet shook his head. "No, it's not this boy." One by one, David's brothers walked before the prophet. But each time the prophet said, "No, it is not this boy." Then the prophet asked David's father, "Have you no other boys?" "Well, only the youngest boy. He's herding or taking care of the sheep right over there." "Well, send and get him," said the prophet. David came running, his harp under his arm, his sling in his belt. His cheeks were red, and the wind blew his hair. "Walk before the prophet, David," said his father. "This is the one," said the prophet. "This is the boy that God chooses." The prophet poured sweet-smelling oil on David's head to show that he was the chosen one. There he is. "Now we shall sit down to the feast," said the prophet. A place was made for David, and he sat with his father and brothers. Why had David been chosen? What would he do? No one knew. It was a secret. David's brothers didn't know. David's father didn't know. David didn't know. Only the prophet and God knew that someday David would be a king. And David would be just as good a king as he was a shepherd boy. Did you like that story? I hope so. David was just a boy, but God saw his heart, and he knew what was going on there. He knew that David wanted to do the right thing and be a good boy. He knew that David wanted to please him. And the Bible says that David was a man or a boy after God's own heart. What about you today? Are you a boy or a girl who wants to please God?